Hi, it's Sun TV RPG once again, and I am here to talk about the interdimensional campaign and the story thus far about what all the background information is about. Where are these guys coming from? Why are they here? So I'll first start with how we led up to the interdimensional campaign. Uh, it actually started out with my first campaign I did with these guys, where it was a bunch of misfits, I guess, who just came together one day because they were taking part in some mysterious uh, challenge from a town mayor. They all met up and they found out that wait, this guy was trying to kill us because why do we not have any uh, supplies? Why is there a demonic horse here? They decided that they'd better stick together. So they headed through the land and found a kingdom in the north where they met a duke. He provided them information about the town and about these characters. They're these suspicious characters who are running amok, and they're calling themselves the Piercing Knights. See, in this world that they're in, it's run by guilds. There are guilds everywhere. Everyone's part of a guild, or you're not part of a guild, or you just do, regular uh, crafts work. Now, for the adventurers, they decide to get more accomplished. They become a guild themselves. So they call themselves the Dragon's Horn Guild. Now, I should explain every member and what they're about. First, we have TJ, who played Dimphna. She was a holy, I think a cleric. I think, some kind of battle cleric. I think yes, a battle cleric who worshipped with sisters. And then there was I I'm thinking his name was Adam. Yes, I think Adam. I think it was or well, Derek Getz, the guy who plays Braxton. He has a lot of A names, so it's kind of hard to get together. But he was a tiefling who had a brother, or not a brother, a cousin, who was in the Piercing Knights, unbeknownst to him. He had magnificent dragon horns, and that's where they got the name from, because he was looking like, well, we call ourselves the Dragon Horns Guild. Yeah, that sounds cool. Like, cause why'd you think of that name? Because of these horns here. Then we had Petrov. Yes, Petrov, played by Jake. He was in that first campaign. That was his very first character. The pirate, who's also a samurai, but is not a samurai, but is a samurai, but it's pirate. He had a magical sword named Nathaniel, because he's a Magus Bladebound. But unlike most Bladebounds, Nathaniel was actually a good entity, not a maleficent one. Then there was someone named Jacob, who is not, unfortunately, not in this campaign. He played a Warforged. Well, it was an android, but we kind of homebrewed it to make it a Warforged, who was very chaotic indeed. He was also chaotic in a sense, as he cared more about results rather than humans. He made up, and he's also his body was also not from this timeline. It was from uh, later in the future, and he kept mentioning about future technology, even though none of the group could figure it out. It was a running joke with him. Then we had a lizard man named Gisserus, who was a druid he was a cave druid. They guarded a special jewels or gems that held magical powers, and he was one of their guardians. One day, as he left to gather herbs, they were attacked, and most of his family and most of his people were decimated. He set on a search for revenge. That's how he became part of the team. And then finally we had Yuto. I played Yuto. He was a uh, investigator, I think it was. Well, more like he's a warlock, but he played as a warlock slash bard because we were playtesting with a new system from Pathfinder. I was beta test, so I was just trying them out. He had a not a dual personality, but he had a secret identity as the White Lights, a character who could wield uh, magical energy in his hands. He played more of the serious straight man and more of the investigative roles. So those were the members of the Dragon's Guild. They were all opposed by what can only describe as a Legion of Doom. Yes, a Legion of Doom called the Piercing Knights. Each one of them had a special connection with the others in the Piercing Knights. Braxton, who had the Dragonhorns, had a cousin who was a barbarian tiefling who wished to enslave humanity. The problem was he had very small horns, and he did not hide that. He was jealous of his cousin's horns very well at all. Then there was Dimna, who actually didn't have a opposing opposite, more of a nuisance. It was a man who was a summoner. He was a playboy, but he had a very strict summoner partner who was very proper, and she always kept him in line. And they were kind of a dual pair. He was always trying to seduce Dimna, but he failed miserably because he is not her type. Then there was Petra, who knew Drim. Yes, Drim. You've probably been hearing the name in the stream. Drim is from the first campaign. He is a Djinn, a anti-paladin Djinn, who the reason he's after Petrov, the reason Petrov is the Magus in the first game was because he found an artifact that belonged to Drim, which Drim was going to use to fuel an army of very bad magic users. So he was constantly after Petrov and looking for the artifact. Then there was the Warforged, Jacob. I forgot his name. I apologize. He had a wife. Yes, a wife. Who was also in a mechanical body. A centaur, a cavalier. And you're probably thinking, what? Yes, they're both actually from the future. But not really. Because it's their souls that are trapped in these inanimate objects that are giving them their unique abilities, because they're part of an experiment with a friend of theirs named Merrick. Now you probably have not heard Merrick's name yet, or maybe you have when we're joking about stuff. Merrick is a super genius who can create the impossible, but he's not a nice guy. He's a bit of a jerk. He's a bit like Rick, if you've seen Rick and Morty, but he's actually nicer than Rick. But he's very very pro science, and can do a lot of really cool things. So he was experimenting with transferring souls to inanimate objects, and those two volunteered to do this. So that's how they know each other. And Jacob's wife had her memories muddled. That's why they were on opposite sides. Then finally, there's Yuto. Yuto was looking for a murderer, a very sick, twisted murderer who was doing ritualistic killings for who knows what. Well, along the way, he meets a girl, and they fall in love. What he doesn't know, though, is the girl is the sick, twisted killer he's been looking for the whole time. In fact, every one of them meets their opponents, and they all like their opponents because what the Pearson Knight have done, they've all taken, how can I say, a they've all taken someone for their own personal use. They've merged their souls with a different individual. That way they can keep their identities secrets. And that was one of the big conflicts of that story was they like the people that they're merged with. Those people are really good people. They're all fun. They're all nice. They all have their own unique personalities and dreams. But they need to destroy these guys because if they don't, the Piercing Knight could possibly destroy the world. So they quest to find uh, whether or not they can find some kind of way to split them apart. Well, along the way, they meet the king. And when I say the king, I mean the ultimate king of the land of a place called Newcrest. Newcrest is basically the capital of not the world, but it's very much the main where all the main uh, power comes from in the world. The king is an elf, the High Elf King. He is unique. You see, he's been living a long, long life because he has the soul of a he has magic from the grand soul of a dragon, and he's used that and he split that power evenly throughout his life so he can live longer and ensure that people are being taken care of. His name is Dorman. Now, with the help of Dorman, they learn all these about all this nonsense, and they figure that they can make one final attempt to save the world by doing a massive battle between the forces of good and evil. Luckily, they win, and they finally defeat their other counterparts while also saving everyone else they love. Now, during the big epic fight, Gisserus, who was the lizard guy played by Ryan, was corrupted by his counterpart. I forgot to mention his counterpart, a Dugar, basically a dark dwarf who killed his family to gain the power that he has currently. He was corrupted and they were flung into some kind of dimensional warp. Their bodies lost forever, or so it seemed. And with that, that's how the game ended, with them victorious, Gisserus lost, and the king telling them a story about how this is similar to another group of adventurers he knew, back when guilds weren't a thing. And that story actually led them to the second campaign, where they played the memories of what he was telling them. Yes, it gets more complicated, and hopefully I can tell you more next time. Thanks again for watching. This has been Son TV RPG once again. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you like to subscribe. Bye and thank you.